When you lose in Yu-Gi-Oh, is it to the player or is it to the deck? That is the question. Hey, what's up you guys? So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about just that. In Yu-Gi-Oh, do you lose to the player or do you lose to the deck? And this is sort of an interesting discussion bit because it's something I've heard from players for a while and thought about myself. As we all know, Yu-Gi-Oh for the past 2-3 years has kind of had a rush of archetypes and sort of a creeping out of combo-based decks. No longer are we in the days of, player-made decks like Plants and Grow and Teledad and like Diva, Mali zombies and things like that. It just seems like it's, for the most part, pre-made archetypes that have their own set of combos, their own set of plays, their own nuances that are exclusive to them. And it's really no longer a time when players are the ones making the decks. It's Konami is just releasing the archetype, you get the cards for it, you put it together in what's kind of considered the standard way, and that's your deck. And so the reason why I'm talking about this is because sometimes I've heard players, or I've heard a shift, I guess, in what I hear from players. It used to be at, say, your locals, there were players who were like really good and really respected, and you didn't really want to face them, like, in the tournament. Like, you were kind of, you knew you'd have to if you did well, because it's Swiss, that's how Yu-Gi-Oh works, usually. But, like, say there's this player named John at your locals, and he's really good, and, like, he's always playing, I guess, the top tier deck. But even when he's not, he's just a really good player. And you don't really want to face John round one. Not round one, you'd rather face him in the later rounds, round 3, 4, 5, whatever. And it used to be players would say things like, oh darn, I like matched up against him round 1. Nowadays, I hear something different. Nowadays, I hear more along the lines of like, oh darn, I had to face, Light Sworns round 1, or oh darn, like Mermails round 1, like come on, things like that. I feel like players more are concerned with the deck than the player, and when they lose to deck, they don't really say that they lost to a certain person. They just, oh, I lost to Light Sworns, oh, I lost to Mermails. What do you guys think of this issue? I'm a bit mixed on it. I think that there are benefits to like it, being deck-based rather than player-based, but I think that there are downsides. So the downsides to it is it feels like, there is less creativity, and you as a player aren't really as respected. This seems to sort of happen with a lot of the event tops and wins. Like, the players who win, most of the time you don't really know their names. I mean, there are a few consistent toppers and winners out there, you guys know who they are. But other times it just feels like no-name players, that's a rude way to say it, but no-name players end up winning these ARGs and YCS events and like winning the regionals and stuff. And it's people you haven't ever really heard of, but you have heard of their decks. So you see it as like, oh, Sylvan's won this event. It's not, Patrick Hoban won this event, or, Fraser Smith, or Jeff Jones. I mean, they do win, and like, nothing to discredit them. But like, whenever, nothing to discredit anybody who wins. But like, it sometimes just feels like it's the deck that won. Like, oh, like, Sylvan's won this event, Gear won this event, Spellbooks topped this event. It's kind of like, it doesn't really feel like it's the player who's doing the work, because a lot of times with these decks, it's sort of a matchup roulette, Your deck has a good matchup against this, and a bad matchup against this, and a good matchup against this, and so it's sort of like you're afraid to face a deck, not a player, and we see things in terms of a deck winning, not a player winning, and that's smart. That's kind of how Yu-Gi-Oh's, in a way, always been. I mean, you look at what deck is topping the most because that gives you the best idea of what to side against. But the bad part is that there is less creativity, and you are less recognized as a player doing well. You're just recognized as another X deck player, like another Sylvan player, another Gear player. And so, what do you guys think? Do you think that it's overall a good thing or overall a bad thing? Would you rather see Yu-Gi-Oh in terms of decks, like, all wind-up players are the same way, because it gets you a bit more focus in side decking and preparing for an event. If you get to know that there will be a lot of wind-up players at an event, you can just side generically good cards against wind-ups, or generically good cards against Insectors. I mean, these are older decks, but you know what I mean. The principle is still there. Or would you rather feel like it's a bit of a challenge based on who you play? Like, if you play this spellbook player, he might be completely different than this spellbook player, and it's not even necessarily because of his build, but just because of how he plays it. Because a lot of people feel like there is less play style and personality in Yu-Gi-Oh! From player to player. It's more like, you know, you play this deck how it's played, or you lose. You know, there's no such thing as like being conservative or, you know, over aggressive. It's just you play it in this way, and when the situation comes up, you do this, and it's just sort of like that's how you play Fire Fists or something. It's so like it's interesting. It's weird because I don't really have a stance on it right now, and that makes this video feel a bit, I know, like vague. But I don't really have a stance on it. I want to know what you guys' stance is. I want to know, and like for this from a serious competitive perspective. So I mean, if you're like a more casual player, you of course feel free to chime in. But I kind of want to hear from you players who play more in regionals and stuff. Do you see it as more of a, it's just the deck you face, or do you see it in terms of like the player that you're facing? Like you're facing a player based on his decisions and play styles, or her. Sorry, don't mean to be, you know. Anyway, so what do you guys think? Do you think that's a good or a bad thing? Would you rather just see the game in terms of decks, or would you see it in terms of like I need to adapt the player and his play style? Is it, and am I wrong to say that it's strictly become decks only? I think that I'm probably wrong. I'm sure that by area it varies. So yeah. Anyways, that's my topic for today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, so do please follow me. And I will talk to you guys later. Remember also that you can submit guest uploads for my channel. And that's all I gotta say, so see ya.